Oh, we're not done yet. No, we're not done yet. We got one more day left. We got one more day. We got Friday right around the corner. End of the week, end of the month. Time to get back to work, guys and gals. Thursday evening, it's April 29th, 2021. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, tuning in for the first time tonight, it's great to have you with me because my job tonight is to help us find the best trade setups for tomorrow. Not just any Friday, end of the week, end of the month, Friday trading session. I got a great video in store for you guys tonight. Lots to cover after such a wild day in the markets today. I warned you guys last night. I told you guys to save your bullets for Reaction Thursday. Thursday evening, getting ready for Friday's trading session. Before we jump in, though, and put together my favorite trade setups for tomorrow's finally Friday trading session, I just want to make sure to remind you, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We publish this video every evening with our best trade ideas for the following day. I don't want you to miss, not tomorrow night's, but Monday evening's nightly newsletter, so make sure you subscribe. And when you do, hit that little bell icon so you always get notified every time I publish something new. And don't forget, if you guys have any questions, you can always drop those questions in the comments section for me. I'd love to answer all your questions, so don't be afraid to ask questions if you got them. And if you tune in every evening, if you enjoyed this video, if you like this video as much as I enjoy making it for you guys every evening, do me a big favor, help me support this YouTube channel. Hit that like button, that thumbs up here for us on this video. So again, make sure you subscribe. I don't want you to miss next week's video newsletter. It'll be a big week next week as well. Drop those questions if you got them, and thumbs up if you guys enjoy the content here on this video. But enough of the intro. I am a little bit late here on the schedule, so let's get right into these charts. We get Friday right around the corner. I can't believe what a wild day today. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that, right? We knew all of this coiled up price action the last couple days. We talked about kind of having a jack-in-the-box moment today, right? Big volatile day here today. So here's the big question. Where do we go from here, right? Crazy session, wild session. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes sideways. So here's the big question. We typically see, when you see this much movement in one day, usually the following day is a trading range. Right? So will tomorrow be kind of a flatlined consolidation day where we're buying low, selling high, fading breakouts? Or will the end of the week, end of the month, will it live up to its potential and be another crazy, not too crazy, right? But nice volatile, big range session for tomorrow? Will we keep seeing these wild swings, or will the markets start to even out and give us some nice easy ranges to trade with tomorrow? I'll tell you that one of the best parts about being a trader is we can trade pretty much whatever the market gives us, right? If we got some ranges tomorrow, which is probably likely, right, with this much volatility today, probably likely tomorrow, but not to worry though. I got a great plan for ranges for tomorrow. Got an even better plan for some nice wild swings here as well. So no matter what we get for tomorrow, by the end of tonight's video, you'll know exactly my favorite setups, and hopefully you'll have a good plan of attack for your own trading, or of course, if you come out and join us every morning in the trade room. Now, of course, before we jump into the charts here tonight though, we've got some more news coming right around the corner. I want to make sure we're on the same page here for the schedule for tomorrow. Now, of course, tomorrow's a Friday. Fridays are almost always going to be early in, early out. It may even be a smaller window of opportunity tomorrow, just because today was such a wild day. Oftentimes, these really wild sessions, the following day, the markets need they need a break, right? Get a catch up and consolidate a little bit. So we'll see tomorrow, but typically Friday mornings are early in, early out. I get to my desk on a Friday morning about 7:30, 7:45 Eastern time, and I'm usually trading until about 10:45, 11 o'clock. You've really got to be having, you got to have a good reason, and you got to have some good personality after 10:45, 11 o'clock on a Friday. The metaphor that I like to tell my clients is successful trading is like riding a bicycle. It works better when it's moving. So it's easier to ride a bicycle when the bicycle's moving. It's easier to make money consistently when the markets are moving. So that's going to be something to keep in your mind tomorrow. Usually about 10:45 Eastern time, we start seeing that bicycle slow down. That's usually going to be your sign to, be on the lookout for the lunchtime session, the end of the week coming to an end there. So So early in, early out tomorrow morning. And of course, we'll have a front row seat in our trade room every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. We get some big news tomorrow. There's no shortage of news. We talked about how this is going to be a busy week here. We've got the ECI and the personal income numbers at 8:30 Eastern time. Now, those are inflation numbers. And so inflation, of course, it's been on everyone's radar over the past few weeks, right? The Fed keeps talking about it. Gold, of course, will be a definite catalyst off inflation. You could even say inflation is what is causing these bond yields to spike, which is what caused that big drop and that rebound today. So inflation, that's going to be center stage tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern time. Now, please don't forget, we are not. I like some good volatility, but I'm not going to be trading the actual news report. If the news is out at 8:30, I'll be looking for setups 8:40, 8:45, right, in the wake of that report tomorrow morning. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, again, Friday morning, early in, early out. That'll be our big headline news for tomorrow. And of course, as always, we open up our trade room 8 o'clock Eastern time. I would love to have you there right there with us. We can prep our charts, right? Update stuff that happens overnight and get after it tomorrow morning. What I'll do is I'll put all of the membership links if you want to come out and join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'll put the membership links you guys need to get registered and come out and join us every morning. I'll put that right in the description of this YouTube video. So grab that link, get registered, and I will see you guys in the trade room as a brand new member. Early in, early out. Big news tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern time. Is it going to keep going like this? Will it be another wild session, or will it be some ranges? Well, not to worry. No matter what we get here, I got a good plan of attack here for us as we go into the end of the week, the end of the month. We don't get that pressure cooker very often. It is a very interesting time of the month here. S&P's ready. Nasdaq's ready. Gold is ready. You ready? All right, let's get this party going here. Let's jump into the S&P here first. Wild session today, of course, on the S&P. You probably already know what happened, right? Market just runs in the overnight. They take out that 07.5 area, right? We talked about this 07.5. It's amazing how those pendulum swings work. Remember this? Remember this pendulum swing back here? That 07.5, if you're ever wondering kind of how I found these levels, right? That was the range. That was the pendulum swing. Just incredible how well that pendulum swing works. And we've got a couple more pendulum swings we're watching as we go into tomorrow's trading session as well, right? For example, I get the pendulum swing support down. You will see some more pendulum swings on our radar as we go. So strong move up here, obviously, to begin the session. The buyers got clobbered, right, at these highs. Buyers tried, sells off, almost comes all the way back down to fill that weekend gap before it pretty much just V-bottoms and runs back up to retest the high. Again, wild session. We definitely were anticipating volatility today, obviously because of yesterday's FOMC announcement, and a lot of it was because of that, those coiled up markets we've seen over the past few days here. What do we know right now? We know the market is bullish, at least in the short term right now, and it looks like we're going sideways, right? It definitely does. Now remember, bull market says buy at support. Range market says buy at support below the trading range. Okay, so that's gonna lead me in the right direction as I plan my setups for tomorrow. Bull market says buy at support. Ranging market right now, right, says buy at support below the trading range. Now, I've got a couple different setups I'm tracking here for tomorrow. One of them is going to be this pullback to low of this channel. I've marked up the highs. I've marked up the lows. I've got this area here, right, which is conveniently just underneath that trading range and that round number. The round number appears to be acting as a magnet. I've got probably 3 or 4 really high percentage setups I'm watching for here tomorrow. What I'd like to get here is a pullback into that buy zone, get those sellers to try to get short off the moving average. And once they commit and get short, we know exactly where their stops are, and I can use those stop losses to trigger a failure into pullback combination. My first kind of favorite setup for tomorrow, a seller failure into a pullback combo off the low of a channel, off this area of support. And the target on this is ultimately going to be back at these highs, but in all reality, right, the target would be back up to retest those all-time highs, and potentially, right, what I would look for is leave a pendulum swing on here and use that pendulum swing as a nice juicy runner target. We'll know more once we get down there. So definitely some food for thought there. My second favorite setup here for tomorrow is going to be a breakout of these highs. The next, of course, right, number 2 setup would be a breakout. Now, there's a couple different options for a breakout, right? We may see a 1-2 go, right? If we do say, for example, push higher here. Let's say, for example, we do get that pullback and that market runs going higher. Pretty easy pickings at that point. I'm going to mark up a new channel. I'm going to find a new channel low. And, this might not be this wide, right, of a channel once we get there. But ideally, I'd like to get another one of those same failure into pullback combinations off the low of that new channel. So that would be my kind of second, right? My second favorite opportunity as we go higher. Now, there could be others as we go higher. For example, right, we may see one of those 2 try traps as we run higher, right? It may blast higher here, and we may be able to get our hands on a trap setup, right? A trap setup below those lows there, right? Don't forget, you can always, of course, include those channels and really increase your odds of success. So those are some options as we go higher. And again, we call these trap setups, right? Trap setups. In this case, it's a 2-try trap setup. I don't need the low of that channel, right? I don't need that channel. That channel could be drawn like that, right? But it definitely does add some reliability to that breakout going higher. Now, I do have potential for a target up here, right? There's a measured move up there. I don't quite know how far this thing will pull back, right? If we pull back, say down to this 41, 42, 41.93 area, then this measured move will be a little bit lower. If we just simply blast higher right now, well, now that measured move is, well, it's off that level. So we're kind of waiting right now to see how far that pullback will get, and that's going to be an easy objective as we go. If you really want to get kind of wild on some projections going higher, what you can do is kind of take the amount going lower, project that going higher. That will obviously be a very big number, but that's something to think about. That's something to consider, probably not tomorrow, right? But that is something also that can be used as a kind of projection going higher. You can see that puts us right around that 42, 45 area. That does seem a lot to bite off for tomorrow, but hey, what we saw today may definitely continue as we go into Friday's trading session. Last but not least, my third favorite setup here, and I'm torn on this one. I got to be honest. I was putting my notes together tonight for the video, and I thought, all right, which pattern do I like better? Do I like a crown reversal off the high, right? A crown reversal off the high. You know me, I love reversals. I don't recommend reversals for a brand new trader, right? But when you can combine a good reversal pattern like a crown reversal, where the buyers pull back, try once, lower low, pull back, try twice, a trap high, that's a pretty darn good, reliable setup. It's a pretty easy setup to learn too. If you apply it in the right locations, reversals are really, really great setups. I was torn though. Which do I want better? Do I want that sell off the high? It does seem like that's going to be pretty aggressive, right? Because it's a lot of momentum going higher here. I think what I'd rather get is I'd rather get something like this. We know we have this channel. Right? This channel coming down. What I'd like to do is see this thing get underneath that channel. And basically what happens is when a market moves underneath those channels like this, the sellers begin to come in and pick up on the fact they're going to hit those lows again. So if we can get a move, again, I want to get that failure into pullback combination. But if we can get this thing to roll lower, I'd like to get the buyers trying once, buyers trying twice, and either get a trap above that, right, above that high. Imagine, right, price sinks lower, buyers once, buyers twice, trap high, or mark up that low, mark up that, you know what I mean? That would be kind of what I'd like to get on the way going down to retest that low. Now, we may also get something like this where it just goes, runs lower, holds the pullback, jumps off the moving average. We call these 1, 2, 3 reversals, right? Basically, mark that low, mark that high, and then we're selling off the high of that, right? Of that channel. Now, remember, we're not just going to simply blindly sell the high of that trend channel. What I'll do is I'll look for my two most common entry triggers off the high of a channel are what are called bull traps, right? Bull traps with the highs, and then buyer failures. Those are the two most common traps and failure setups off of those channels. And again, right, we talked about that earlier, right? One of those will be that failure into pullback combination. Now, I want to share as much as I can with you here in this video, but if I do everything, we'll be here all evening. So if you want to get a deeper dive into the exact entry techniques, entry triggers, the rules I use, when to use them, I'm going to go over more of those details in our free trading course. So what I'll do is I'll put a little pop-up there in the upper right-hand corner for you. Again, we'll keep the video going tonight, but if you want a deeper dive into all the specific entry setups, right? Like as we go lower, moving average comes over, right? Buyers try once, buyers try twice, right? Like what are the rules for these entry setups? Target, of course, is down at that low. Can I get that channel? That would just be masterful, right? Get that channel, little trap high there. The key is I don't want to sell it low, I want to sell it high. I'd like to sell it there up on the high of this channel. So the only other variable right now is do we sit sideways, right? Do we sit sideways here? Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if the market spends a good deal of time going sideways here. That would be a bull market, right, into a range. I would then be looking at these prior swings here, combining those prior swings, right, along with our failure patterns, right? Failures are our bread and butter in the trade room whenever we have a range-bound market. So got a bunch of really great favorites here. I'd love to get a pullback. Again, we'd love to get that pullback, that failure off that low. But if that pullback starts to accelerate now, remember, there's a lot of momentum down there, right? And they haven't taken out that high yet. So if this market showed us one thing, easy up, easy down sometimes, especially towards the end of the month. If they can start to bleed this thing lower, right, it'll look like this, like right here, right? If it bleeds lower, right, buyers once, buyers twice, and again, right, mark that high. You can see an example right there, right? So that'll be something similar we'll look for over here. Buyers once, buyers twice. So think about that setup as we go. I like that trade a lot. We'll see what we get here, of course, as we go into Friday morning. Boy, oh boy, I'm getting excited just talking about it here right now. S&P is all good to go, so we have a pretty good plan of attack on that. How about some Nasdaq? Now, Nasdaq, all this craziness today, and look where the Nasdaq ends. Right back in the middle of its range from pretty much the entire week, right? This weekly range we've had. That range, they act like magnets. Now, we talked about pendulum swings, right? In the last video, on the last chart, look at this pendulum swing right now. Look at that pendulum swing. There's your trading range. This is the same range that's been here pretty much all week, right? For the most part. There's your range. Look at how the market goes above the range. And then apparently just turns right on a dime, right on that. Isn't that incredible? Now, obviously, finding the range correctly is the key to, using pendulums, right? You gotta know how to draw ranges correctly, and we cover all that stuff in our video classes here at School of Trade. It's pretty easy to learn. I get some pretty interesting little techniques I teach my clients how to find these ranges. I've done a lot of this stuff over the years. So, long story short, the range is the range is the magnet. We pump it up. We dump it back down. They pump it right back up. And right now we have what's called rotation off the lows, right? So we are rotating off the low of this trading range. The buyers have the momentum at their backs right now, right? The buyers do have momentum. It's difficult to call this a bear market. Would I be surprised to have the bears go back and retest these lows? No, I probably wouldn't, right? It's a very big move down. Anytime we see this much strength in one direction, there's a good chance we make a run down to those lows. So there's definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a strong run lower here. I probably will still want to buy it, right? If we do go lower, I'll still looking to buy it. We'll talk about that here in a second. I do potentially, you really are looking for, because the range is so obvious here still. The S&P broke free of its range. Gold may have broken free. We'll talk about gold in a second. You could definitely say, okay, there's your new pendulum swing, right? So there's a new one up there. They're pretty much just equal. So we're looking for a rotation back up to retest the high. As you can see, though, I'm also kind of measuring up this measured move here, just so you guys can see measured moves, pendulum swings. They're pretty much the same animal when it comes to a range-bound day. The range is a magnet. Whenever I have a range, I want to buy at support levels below the range. I want to sell at resistance levels above the range. The only problem we have right now, right, use the range as a magnet. The only problem we have right now is a lot of momentum, right? A lot of momentum. So my three favorite setups. I got a couple really good plan here for the Nasdaq here tomorrow. First one, you can probably kind of already assume is very similar to the S&P. Now, what I did was I marked up these highs here. Now, there could be a larger channel, to be honest with you. It could be a little bit wider, right, like that. So this is kind of one of those little zones down. You know what I mean? It definitely could be, right? It could be that channel off that high. It might, right? It might. It doesn't feel like that because you'll notice if I remove that channel, you've got kind of these two, and I know they're very small, but this is kind of how trading works. You can draw that trend line, believe it or not, off those two little highs right there, and you can see how well it fits off that low, right? So that is an area of support. Look at all the support right here. I mean, there's been a ton buyers. We're going to talk about this all week. This is nothing new, right? So what I'd like to do is get down underneath this range, right? Take out some of these lows down here, get into support area, and then, as we always say, right? You'll probably never see me try to pick a bottom on a pullback. That's kind of a rookie's game. I like to wait for those sellers to come in, get short on the right off the pullback, and then use those stop losses to trigger a failure into pullback combination. Now, because we have all of this momentum, right, rotating, and because we anticipate a pendulum swing back in the opposite direction, we've got some pretty good targets, right? The targets are right up around these highs here, and it could get really good there for the bulls tomorrow if they can get that failure right into that pullback. I should also mention too, and this is kind of a variation. This will also apply to the S&P, by the way. This will also be applicable to the S&P strategy. If we do get that failure off the moving average, sometimes what happens is the market rips, right, and it won't pull back and go. I always like to look for the failure and the pullback combination. Sometimes the market rips though, and if it rips higher like this, that's your cue to look for one of those traps. Right? Look for one of those traps. These will oftentimes, again, because the writing is kind of on the wall of where it wants to go at that point, this would be a failure. It always begins either with a trap or a failure. I'll show you a trap on the gold here in a second. But a failure off the low, right, into this would be a bear trap below that low here. Target, of course, is up around that high. That would be my first favorite setup here on the Nasdaq. And again, maybe it's a failure into pullback combination. Maybe it's a failure into a ripper, right, into a two-try trap combination. either way, those are some setups I'm looking for as we go. And remember, these failures, trap setups, I go over them in a lot more critical detail with the rules, some real examples of how they look. You get a lot more deeper dive into that with that free video course in the upper right-hand corner. So grab that. My second favorite setup is going to be a much deeper pullback. Now, on the S&P, we had broken free of this range. Okay, the S&P, if we get the market running lower here now, this range now acts like a magnet back there. Okay, that's a big difference between the Nasdaq. If the Nasdaq goes lower, the range is above us, right? So it's very difficult to justify being a seller down here, right? Like we would on the S&P. The S&P, if the S&P rolls lower, we've got all that open space to go down again. We don't have that on the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq, I'm going to play it the opposite way on the Nasdaq. If we pull back, right, again, you've got all this, think about it, you got to think that anything that gets below these lows right now, unless something fundamentally changes overnight, there could always be something that comes out overnight that spooks these markets. But, if we can get underneath these lows here, right, again, I'd like to get that failure pullback combination off the low of that channel. But if we don't, if we end up going a little bit deeper now, that range will still act like a magnet. This time, though, what's the problem? Momentum. Momentum is not as strong now. If I can buy a pullback off the channel, momentum is still very bullish. If I end up sinking now, again, into some of these areas down here, really, as long as I can get this before it retests that low, what I'd like to do is see if I can get those bears to get trapped on the wrong side. What I'd like to do is use a slightly different variation of that failure pattern I talked about earlier. Let the bears try once, let the bears try twice. And there's a couple different variations of this. One of them would be that trap low, which is kind of like that crown reversal pattern we talked about on the S&P. The key, remember, the most important thing about this is the range is the magnet, right? So we're using the range as the magnet. We have, again, we're not using the support like we were. We're now breaking underneath support. Momentum starts to shift. Let those bears now take a couple swings, right? Because at that point, they're going to put up a fight. They're going to want to try to get that run down to that low there. Let them spin their wheels. Let them try a couple times. And then if I can get a bounce off that double bottom, I always like to look for trend lines there, right? So trend line support, trap low support, that's a great place to get long off it. Or sometimes we don't get the benefit of that really big second try. Sometimes second try just goes halfway and snaps back up. In that case, we can buy into those stop losses. Now, these are also examples of markets, these types of really deep pullbacks where you kind of, trap in the bears, if you will. These types of deep pullbacks that trigger those failures, they oftentimes will really race as they go higher. Remember, don't chase it at this point. Mark up that high, mark up that low, and look for that what is usually a bear trap or a failure setup combination, right, coming off of that low. And I hate to use all the terminology, but if you're a client of mine or if you've been through the video courses I keep talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So if you want to get more information on the terminology, the setups, we talk about those things in our free trading classes. I'll put all the links you guys need in the description here of this YouTube video. So that will be my second favorite setup as we go. My third favorite here would be a run higher, right? Now, we already know where the market wants to go, right? We have a good idea where it wants to go. Back to the all-time highs, right? Take out the highs there for a pendulum swing back in the opposite direction. What's my challenge as we go higher? Remember, there's two key questions I'm always asking in our trade room. How's my momentum and how is my location? Okay, if you just simply ask those two questions before you take a trade, you'll find yourself avoiding most losses. For example, how is momentum right now to be a buyer, right? Momentum is great. At that point, momentum is great. We keep going higher here. Lots of bullish momentum. The wind is at our backs for the buyers, right? There won't be a lot of sellers looking to stand in front of that freight train. But how's my location? Yeah, not great. Why? because I can't, there's no meat on the bone up here, right? I can't risk small to earn large. We don't have any guarantee this thing keeps going through these highs, right? For all I know, it may just simply run up and collapse back down. It wouldn't be the first time or the last time. So we have good momentum, but we don't have good location. So is there a specific entry setup that I like to use when I have lots of momentum, but not a lot of open space? Absolutely. They are called traps. So as we go higher here, I would love to get a 2-try trap setup as we're going. Now remember, the key to a 2-try trap is a strong move, right? That kind of gets the mojo going. A shallow pullback. The shallow pullback is what lights the fuse. The higher high is what confirms the setup. Then you look for that trap below that low. And remember, I wouldn't be upset if I could find a channel to combine with it. The channel's not required, but it sure as heck doesn't hurt, right? It really, really helps as we're going higher here. So that would be my third favorite setup. And of course, I could keep going on, right? You know, if we do get this big run higher here, just remember, the bigger the move, the bigger the reversal needs to be. Now, I do realize that sometimes markets go straight up and straight back down, but it's not that common, believe it or not. So if we do end up, steamrolling going higher here, what I always tell my clients is the bigger the move, the bigger the reversal pattern needs to be, right? Some huge move up, I'm not going to look for that little 1, 2, and right back down again. I'll think bigger. 1, right? 2, grab that low, grab that high. See what I'm doing here? And then get short. 1 try, 2 try, right? So that's kind of like a fourth setup I wouldn't mind taking tomorrow. Again, I am nowhere in my wildest dreams would I want to sell into that high, right? Again, I do understand they do reverse every once in a while, like V-tops, but those are not going to be as common as you think they will, right? So we want to go up, let those buyers try a few times, big move up, big reversal. This may take an hour, right? It may take a while to actually get this battleship to turn around. If for some reason it went up and came right back down again, how would you sell that? You would use that same setup we talked about in the S&P, right? Where it goes down 1, 2, and trap back down, right? So if it does give us that kind of V, right? Kind of that V-top, right? And runs lower there, mark that low, mark that high, bingo. So some more we can look for here as we go. And by the way, these are all variations of traps and failures and pullback combinations. Now, what if we go lower? If we go lower, I know what I'm looking for to buy down here. Do we hold a pullback and go, right? Do we make a run to those lows? Do we hold the pullback and blast through those lows? If we do, we definitely can look for that new hidden channel. As I've been mentioning earlier on this week, we have earnings reports, right, coming out after the close. So this could be a very busy overnight session. We've been talking about that all week, right? We've got earnings coming out after the closing bell, so it could be a very busy evening session. And again, I want to get that 1, 2, 3. Show me proof, right? Show me you sellers want to hold this. Because if you don't, I'll be looking for that 1, 2, and right back up into that trading range. Where do the bears want to go? There's a nice big low down here. You'll notice here if I zoom out a little bit. Nice big low down here around that, 13,700. So if we can zoom back in here, if we can get this thing to give us that strong move down, hold that pullback, and go through those lows, that is that 1, 2, 3 breakout, and I'll gladly look for that short off the top of that channel. Remember, I'm not going to just blindly sell it, right? We'll look for one of those entry triggers. The most common are going to be buyer failures above the moving average or bull traps, right? And again, you'll learn more of those details and you'll know the rules of those patterns and how we trade them. I'll put those links again in the description of the YouTube video or in the upper right-hand corner, right? So grab that link and learn these specific entry techniques there. All right, we're looking pretty good. So Nasdaq, again, relatively straightforward. It's a range, right? It's a range right now. Keep using that range as a magnet until we get a breakout, like I mentioned there before. All right, Nasdaq looking good. Let's grab some gold here. Now, gold is probably the one that has the most potential to make another leg lower. Gold is probably the one that has the most potential to reverse off of this kind of bounce off the low. There's a lot of bearishness right now in this gold market. Looking at this right now, let's kind of zoom out real quickly because I think that's kind of a big part of this. So we had this range, if you kind of look at this on gold right now, right? We've got this just massive range here. It's actually not a very large range. It's been going on for a while, right? About the last 2 weeks here. And you'll notice, right? Buyers keep buying low, bears keep selling high, buyers keep buying low, right? Bears keep selling high. Now, what you'll notice is we kind of made those, monthly highs up there, and it's been a bear move down ever since. So there is a lot more bearishness in this market than there are the others. Also, though, you can see, and we've been talking about this area all week this week, like I've been telling you, it's been difficult to find an open space down here to get short. And you can see what happened. We came off of that, what is this kind of previous level right there. And you can see buyers bought it, right? So there's a lot of, you can tell, the buyers are simply using that range, and they're just trying to up the ante, right? They're buying here, they're buying here, they're buying here. Each of these are lower lows, right? So buyers are scaling into this. You can definitely tell they're there, but the kind of the big question right now is this market, well, you'll see here, have we broken free of this range? There's no real evidence on the gold right now that we are still going to use that range from yesterday, right? So right now, you'll notice there's the range right there. There's really besides these two little spots right there, there's really no evidence right now that range is still intact. Okay? Like on the Nasdaq right now, the Nasdaq, you can definitely tell the range is still there. I mean, we finished the day inside the darn range, for crying out loud, right? The pendulum swings are screaming at us. We're still in the range, right? So Nasdaq, pretty obvious the range is still in play. The S&P did, I think, break free of its range into a new range. So we have ranges kind of galore here going into the Friday session tomorrow. We don't really have that in the gold right now. So you'll notice I kind of left this range on there, and I'm going to assume that this range is going to play into tomorrow. But be aware, though, it may not. It may not. And this is kind of one of those times where we may have to do one of those kind of wait and see what happens here. We also have that big news tomorrow morning on gold, right? That ECI, right? The Employment Cost Index tomorrow morning, which, of course, is expected to be a big market mover on gold here. So there definitely are some variables here on the yellow metal that might not be completely obvious just yet. What we do know is this. We do know that the bears had a strong move down. They overshoot their measured move. They take out that low I talked about, and they pretty much reverse, right, off of this moving average. It's pretty difficult right now to call this a bear market, although as I mentioned earlier, because we didn't finish off right back inside that range, because the range wasn't obviously in play today, right, like it was on the S&P and the Nasdaq, there's a very good chance that with this much strength going lower, right, where we call these open loops, right? We call these open loop moves. There could be some unfinished business here, right, back down to retest that low. So that is definitely something that I have kind of on my radar here going for tomorrow. So knowing that, right, and again, the key takeaways of that long-winded introduction here on gold is we don't quite know if this range is 100% there still. What we also do know is buyers have done a good job at defending these lows, but there's a hell of a lot of bearishness that's still in this market right now. It would not surprise me if we make that run and retest those lows, right? So that's on my radar. That's going to weigh on our setups for tomorrow. What are my 3 favorite trades here as we go? It's one buy side. It's definitely one sell side. Well, let's jump right in, right? So first of all, we have a nice strong move going higher. And I would like to think that range is going to act like a magnet. So I'm going to try to find an area of support to use. I'm going to mark up that high, those highs. I'm going to mark up these lows, and I'd like to buy a pullback here. Right, that would kind of be my favorite option here as we go. And there's a couple different ways in which we can do it. Now you'll notice we have this strong move up, this shallow pullback, and didn't we just talk about that? We did, right? That is a 2-try trap. So I'd love to see a trap into a failure, into a pullback combination. Now, we might see all three of these, right? Trap low, failure, pullback. We may only see a trap low on this, right? So those are 3 setups I'm watching for, right, as we pull back. Similar to the S&P, very similar. But in this case, though, we really have a nice combination of that prior swing and that channel. And, there might be a wider channel on here. If we do get a stronger move down here now, this is where we have to think, okay, we're probably going to try to make a run back to retest those lows. Again, a lot more bearishness and no real evidence of that trading range. Again, on the Nasdaq, I'm a buyer down here, right? Because the range is obvious. On the gold, I can't really be a buyer if it really pulls back deep. The problem is going to be, though, if we do make a strong run lower here, how's my momentum? Yeah, momentum's fine for the bears. How is my location? Yeah, not that great. Why? There's no more meat left in the bone, right? There's no more reward for the risk I could take. And that's the challenge down here. So what's the best way to trade an area where, I don't want to miss the move, but I have to get enough strength going here to give me some evidence here? It's a trap. Right? So trap setups are definitely going to be what I'm looking for here, right, as we make that move lower. And remember, too, those traps, we can easily grab those channels, right, and combine them with the highs of those channels. That's my second kind of favorite setup as we go lower. It'll probably be, again, strong move down, buyers try once, buyers try twice, trap high. Again, channel comes off those lows, up around that high. We've talked about these setups a couple times right here already. Now, you could also say too, well, what if we make a strong run down, we hold that pullback, and we jump off? Same thing, right? Now, this one, obviously, I'm not going to sell that first pullback because it's just not the setup I want. What I look for, though, is mark up that low, mark up that high, and I will definitely try to sell the high of that bear channel, right? It's a bull trap. Right? It's a bull trap. And it could be, in all reality, it could be one of these, right? It could be a 2-try trap here, right? Mark up that low, mark up that high. It could be a 2-try trap, failure, pullback, okay, combination off of those highs. This, again, we'll look for whatever we can get our hands on, right? Trap pattern, failure trigger, pullback combination. Where do we think these bears are going lower here? You've really got to zoom out here to find it. It's all the way down there, 1734. There's basically a range down here, as you can see, right? There's a range right there. So 1740, 1735. If things really get crazy, right? 1723, 1740, 14.8, right? Those are going to be some targets there for those sellers. So that is my second favorite setup here for tomorrow. My third one would be if this market does run higher. Now, there's a couple of variations of this. We may see it run and jump off that low. If that's the case, now what do? Easy. Mark up that high, find that new channel, and get in before we retest, right, these highs up here. You have to think today's high would probably be a big objective here, right? So if we do end up pulling back and running higher, again, might not be that strong, right? But if we do get a strong jump off of it, that is a 1, 2, 3 breakout higher. I'm going to mark up that high. I'm going to mark up that low. Do we see a failure into pullback combination off that low? Do we get a trap off the low of that? We'll wait and see what we get as we go. And as you can imagine, if we do end up kind of running up and revisiting that trading range, it now kind of puts us in the same spot as the Nasdaq is. So if we do end up, that would not be a problem either. That would be a pretty easy strategy. If it does run up here and run back into that range here, that makes our job pretty easy. Just like on the Nasdaq, what I'll do is mark up that high, mark up that low, right? Find some of these support levels and combine those support levels with those failure patterns, right? Find support levels, find those failure setups, and let her rip, right? Buying off that low. And again, if it does make that, run higher, don't be surprised. Don't be afraid to grab those 2-try traps here, right? Off of those lows, especially if it really starts to rip there overnight, right? Grab those highs, grab those lows, and combine offload that channel. And again, I'm just simply marking the ideas up right now, trying to share as much with you so you can improve your trading. I go over a lot more details of the exact setups, right? And I'll send you lots of examples of those setups as part of that free trading course. And don't forget, all the information I'm talking about tonight, you can find links in the description of this YouTube video, also are right below me tonight on the trading blog. All right, let's wrap things up. We're looking good here for Friday trading session. I'm stoked. Hopefully you guys are excited as well. Hopefully I will see you guys every morning at the opening bell in our trade room. Don't forget, you can easily get registered for our membership and to join us every day in our trade. I'll put all the links you guys need to get registered. I'll put those in the description of the YouTube video. Don't be afraid to call the office. If you guys have any questions, I'm always here to help along the way. And if you guys have any chat questions there, use the live chat on the left, the live chat on the right. I'm always here to help, right? So don't be a stranger. Call the office if you need me. And I will see you guys either tomorrow morning, every morning in our trade room, or we'll see you guys back here next week at the first week of May, the end of the month, and a brand new month coming next week. Expect increased volatility over the next couple of trading sessions. And of course, tomorrow, we're waiting to see what we get here tomorrow morning at the opening bell. But that is it for me now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you use all this information to earn a lot, and I hope I'll see you soon in our trade room as a brand new member. As always, my name is Joseph. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time, all right? Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.